Good morning, District 89. This is Miss M over at Stevenson Middle School. For this week's lesson, we are going to be studying the art element of texture. It is one of the 7 elements of art. Texture refers to how something feels. So let's say, for example, I have this string and I want to try to draw it. How would I give the viewers a sense of that feeling when I touch it? And it's a little bit rough and it has these little frayed edges coming off of it. Or if I pick up a rock, how does that feel? Is it jagged? Is it smooth? Is it rough? So those are all textures. So just keeping that in mind, we're gonna create a very fun artwork with a few different textures so you can get some practice. Let's go ahead and get started. For this project, you guys will need a piece of paper and a pencil. And then if you have a marker, you could use a marker or a pencil for this project. So I'm gonna go switch back and forth. If you do not have a marker, you can definitely do this whole thing in pencil. So we're gonna start by just placing our hand onto the paper, and you wanna place your hand so that you can see part of your wrist, right? So make sure your hand's like not down here. Then we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna trace our hands. Try to take your time here and make sure that you get really close to the edges of your fingers so that they don't look like big blobs and they look like real fingers, because that's gonna make the project look a little bit cooler. All right, so once I'm done tracing my hand, I'm also gonna trace a little part of my wrist, kind of just let it go off the page. See, my ring was there, that's funny. We're just gonna leave that in. As we always say, mistakes sometimes make our artwork better. All right, so once I've done that, I'm gonna go ahead and switch right into my Sharpie, but if you would like to stick with pencil, again, you can. We're gonna start by just tracing over. If you have a Sharpie, just tracing over your pencil lines. If you don't have a Sharpie, don't worry about it. Just kind of skip this part or fast forward through it. All right, so before we get into the fingers, I just want to show you guys, like if you were saying, let's say this hand was coming out of the ground, like it was like a zombie hand. There are several different ways you can create texture. One is just by like solid black areas and then little lines, right? So let's say that the ground is coming up. I'm just kind of creating little lines there to create the ground. Let's say the ground curled up and is coming around this hand. Lines can create the texture that this ground is pulling up. And this part is optional if you just want to see kind of how it looks, and if you like it, just go ahead and give it a try. And if you don't like it, skip it, right? So I'm just kind of creating some ground marks. Okay, and the way that we're doing this is with the element of line, which is also another element of art, which we'll learn about. So again, just using lines. Another thing that you can do is you can do something called cross-hatching, which is where you make little X's. So basically you do lines one way and then you do lines the other way. And that's gonna create the illusion of some texture. If I wanted to create some shadows in the hand and create some texture there, I can also do some cross-hatching here by doing lines in one direction and then the other. And then to add more shadows, I could just kind of add in some lines. So you can see how the shadows in my hand are starting to form. All right, so let's say that this is the inside of our hand. We also might create like a little line there for the inside of our hand. And then maybe a few lines here for the inside of our hand. So these are all just very simple ways to create texture. We don't have to go too deep into this part. All right, so now I'm gonna do 2 fingers with you of different textures, and then I'm gonna put it in fast forward so you could see me do my other 3, just so that we know how this word looks. It is spelled like this, texture. And you could even write that at the top of your paper. All right, so let's say for this one, I'm gonna do a little furry animal. Again, you could look at a picture online, or you can just copy what you see me doing, or you can look at a stuffed animal that you have at home. So to create fur, this idea of fur, I'm just creating little lines, right? Super easy. The trick with this, texture takes time to build up. So you want to take your time and build it up to create the illusion of how something feels. All right, let's say now my next one, I want to create a texture of let's say bricks on a building, right? So I know that to create texture, I need to use lines. And I know that bricks on a building kind of look like little rectangles. And they have little spaces in the middle because that's where the grout goes. Right? If you've ever looked at a brick building. And I also know that the bricks are usually staggered so that, let's say that this brick is here, then these 2 are gonna be not directly underneath it, right? But off to one side or the other. So this finger, I'm just gonna create bricks, again, just by using lines, and I'm developing texture. Again, this comes just with a lot of practice, so don't feel like if you don't get it the first time that you didn't do a good job. Just kind of do the best you can, right? And again, you don't have to do these textures. You could pick your own textures. So pick what you would like to do. Okay, so now I have my furry little creature. I have my bricks on the side of the building. I'm creating all these different kinds of textures. I'm gonna go ahead and now do my other 3 fingers in fast forward so that you can speed through this part. And then you can see what I'm doing. And then you go back and finish your own after you watch this. So let's put this in fast forward and then I'll show you guys what it looks like at the end. All right. Okay, so we are all finished. This is what my final hand turned out like with all the different textures. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's project. Please make sure to keep up with your e-learning activities every week, and we will see you next time.